Gratitude is the quality of being thankful. It is a readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. After working a 12-hour shift at a book and print company, Nina enters her apartment. Her job is essential despite the COVID-19 pandemic. She is exhausted. She locks the door behind her and throws her keys onto the counter. She flips on the light, removes her shoes, and places the handbag she is carrying on top of the shoes. She then removes her coat and puts it on top of the bag. She locks the top lock of her door and takes off her work badge. Because Nina doesn't want to forget her work badge for the next day of work, she places it on the handle of the door. She then heads to the kitchen. This is a customary procedure for Nina. In the kitchen, there is a teapot on the stove filled with water already. Nina turns the eye on where the teapot sits. A stack of coasters is sitting on Nina's bar across from the stove. She grabs one and places it on the counter next to the stove. Nina goes over to her dishwasher where she keeps most of her clean, routinely used dishes. She grabs a cup for tea and places it on the coaster. There is a cabinet filled with tea above the counter holding the teacup and the coaster. She opens it and pulls down a box of black chai spice tea, which is her favorite tea. To relax and relieve stress, Nina strips down bearing only her underwear. She is vulnerable and alone. She goes to her living space and sits. Nina stares out into her living space and cries out in anguish. She cries because she is not content with her life. She cries because she believes she deserves better. She cries because she doesn't know what else she could possibly do to make her life better. She cries because she wants nothing more than to just give up. But life forces her to keep going. Nina's cries are interrupted by the cries and whistling of the teapot. She collects herself and responds to the cries and whistling of the teapot. Nina wipes her face clear of tears, silently. She then skims the room and realizes that the root to all of her problems is right in front of her. She begins to examine each item in her living space individually. She looks out into the middle of the room. There is a wine glass with nothing in it, a wine bottle with nothing in it. She thinks wine is not a necessity. That glass is not a necessity. Wine could be poured in a cup or a regular glass. 2 candles sit next to the wine glass and wine bottle. She thinks, I have light. Some people don't have light, let alone candles. Candles are merely a bonus when you have electricity. She looks at the queen-size air mattress in the middle of the floor with sheets and pillows neatly scattered over it. Some people are vagabonds, roaming from place to place and enduring many sleepless nights without any place to sleep or a bed to aid them in their sleepless nights. I have a place in a bed. She thinks, I too could be a vagabond. Nina looks over at a bin filled with acrylic paint. Her big yellow beach cruiser bike, her large dry erase board, her bag, her coat, and her work badge that is hanging from the door handle. She thinks, I could probably paint a masterpiece with that paint. And who knows, be the next Frida Kahlo. in this big, beautiful beach cruiser has sustained me through some of my most troublesome times when I could not rely on my car. Bikes give you a freedom that a car cannot. Bikes also take you places that a car cannot. Bikes also fit into spaces that cars cannot. I have been places. She looks out behind her bike at her dry erase board. Some people have so much mental discord and never find a way to declutter their thoughts. I have a dry erase board that allows for the organization of my thoughts and helps to give me constant reminders of who I am and what I should be doing. She looks over at her coat and bag. That coat has given me warmth all winter and has moved me through spring on windy days. And that bag has served as one of my most greatest conveniences, carrying endless items I use on a daily. Her work badge is hanging from the door handle. She looks over at it and she thinks, some people are not working at all in this pandemic. Money is still coming in for me. My job is essential. What a blessing. I cannot and I will not complain. Nina's eyes follows the room in a square. She turns her attention to the 6-cube bookshelf that is partially covered from the positioning of the bed. She skims her collection of books. Some are dedicated to learning Spanish, some psychology, some race relations, some for the enrichment of spirituality, heritage, sex, astrology, occultism, and fine arts. She thinks, I have access to over 40 books filled with knowledge. Knowledge is power. Power that I have access to. She looks at the vase that serves no purpose other than separating her books, considering it's not holding flowers. Vases have been around for centuries. What beautiful antiquity I have access to. Nina smiles as she looks at the Buddha decor. That serves as a reminder to help her to stay peaceful and calm in a time of awry. On the top left of the bookshelf is a golden tray that holds 3 candles on it and 3 decorative wooden balls that resemble tumbleweed or knitting yarn that one would often see a cat playing with in a movie, a photo, or a commercial. Nina thinks these items are definitely not necessities, but they certainly do help to beautify my bookshelf. There is a communications diploma that sits in the middle of the bookshelf. It reminds her that she has and is accomplished. On the right end of the top of the bookshelf is a scented candle that sits behind a book called The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by American writer Mark Twain. She thinks it is that candle that gives my place its sweet redolence. The book It's just a vintage collection hanging out only for its aesthetic appeal. She thinks, who owns such books? Mark Twain is certainly not a favorite of mine, but he does offer a different perspective as it relates to Black history. Well, in that book at least. Perspective is good. History is indeed important. I have history available to me in this room. Above the bookshelf on the wall is a painted portrait of Sarah Barton, a South African woman who was tricked into bondage with the promise that she would gain fame, fortune, and prestige if she became a dancer in Europe. The Dutch, English, and French obsessed over her glorious buttocks, which was bigger than any buttocks Europe had ever been exposed to at the time. She was paraded around Europe in various circuses for financial gain. To her dismay, she never gained fame, fortune, or prestige. She died at just 26 years old in 1816. A scientist made a plaster cast of her body, pickled her brain, and genitals. Sarah was stripped of her dignity in life and in death. She died sad, broken, penniless, diseased, and alone. Tears come to Nina's eyes when she thinks things could be worse. I too could be Sarah Barton. Nina turns her attention to the wall next to the bookshelf's wall. Along this wall are two symmetrical windows with a fireplace centering the two. She thinks it is those windows that let the sunlight into my space each morning to alert me that it is day out. And it is that fireplace that keeps me warm and helps me to avoid an expensive electric bill. An unplugged 32-inch Dynex TV is sitting in front of the fireplace. It is obvious from its positioning that it is not being utilized. Nina thinks television is definitely a human luxury and not fundamental. However, we as humans treat it as such. I don't engage in TV too often. I prefer quiet. Quiet is a necessary that is not afforded to many. I have autonomous silence. She looks over to her Gibson acoustic guitar that has not been out of its box for months. That guitar, Nina thinks, was a gift from a friend. I could really make some profound, heartfelt music with that guitar. Music is healing. I once read somewhere that sound therapy can improve my physical and emotional state of being. I have so much in this room. Right next to the guitar is a door that leads out to her patio. She thinks, how could one be grateful for a door? I don't know. Doors, they open and close, which can also be symbolic for beginnings and endings. I'll let this door serve as a reminder that endings are merely beginnings. Trouble can't last always. A fence-painted picture hangs just above Nina's head on the wall she's sitting up against. It reads, "There's only one happiness in life. It's to love and be loved," in big, bold black letters. Nina looks up at the picture and thinks, I have love, self-love. I am self-full. I have everything I need inside of me and in this room to move me forward. Having looked over the whole room, and after gracefully reflecting on each item in the room, Nina concludes,